Hunter x Hunter's power system, Nin, is without a doubt one of the best to have ever been created. But honestly, Nin just can't hope to compete with the amount of satisfaction that we feel when someone finally slugs the smirk off some jerkface's jerkface. Not to mention when that punch also happens to explode on contact. There's just something special about that. While we're on the topic of exploding punches, today we will be calculating the max striking power of Gon Freecss. However, we won't just stop after calculating his power. No. That would be like making one of the greatest series of all time and then not finishing it.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
So, instead of just stopping at power, today, along with that, we're going to find his fastest speed and his strongest durability, all to answer the question, how strong is Gon Freecss? And don't worry, by the end of the video, we will have answered it.
Now, show me rock! John? Ken? Rock!
Hello Internet, Jojo here, and welcome to Ideashock. Now, I don't really have a good intro for this video, but I imagine that by the time you're watching this, my sanity will be mostly Gon, and I'll probably be on the verge of kiloing over from exhaustion. Maybe I should eat some sugar and get some energy back. I think I saw some Leoreos in the kitchen. I should probably Kurapika around the corner to see if anyone's already eaten them. Okay, that last one was just bad. Cringy humor aside, let's get to what you're actually here for, to find out the full power of Gon Freecss. And when I say full power, I'm talking full power, including this monster. So without any further ado, let's grab some feats and get to the meat and tomatoes of this video. By far, Gon's most powerful punch came from the Chimera Ant story arc, when Gon punched this owl chimera and claimed to have hit him across the island into another country.
I made sure to knock you west! Go back to the NTL!
For this first part of the calculation, we're going to treat this like a normal punch and take out Nin from the equation. Don't worry guys, it doesn't actually affect the final result at all, but it'll make it simpler. First, we will find the size of the island by comparing it to this continent here. Now, the planet that Hunter x Hunter takes place on is not Earth, or at least not the Earth we know of, but the land masses are practically identical to many nations of the real world. And this part looks like Africa. Africa is about 7,400 kilometers long. So, then comparing that to the Matillion Federation, and this island has a total length of 1,928 kilometers. This means that Gon punched the Chimera a minimum of 936,316 meters. With that distance and the angle of launch being about 40 degrees, we find this Chimera must have had an initial velocity of 3,053.49 meters per second. The initial velocity is a velocity before acceleration. This Chimera would cover this distance in about 400 seconds and would reach a max height of 196,000 meters, as well as forming a projectile arc that is about 1,975,000 meters long. For Gon to have hit this Chimera at an initial velocity of 3,050 meters per second, his short 12-year-old arm would have had to accelerate at about 18,341,262 meters per second squared. As to mass, we can find the Chimera's weight by comparing his height to Gon and then to the weight of a human in their prime. Doing this, we get a weight of around 147.7 kilograms. This means that for Gon to hit him at this speed, Gon must have generated exactly 296,257 tons of force. Those of you who have been around for a while know what's next. We're going to displace this. Taking the max height of the Chimera, 196,415 meters, we find that Gon punched him with 123.728 kilotons of TNT. However, that's just Gon's power as a kid. If we apply his massive Nin increase from his adult form, his power spikes dramatically. You see, Nin is a substance that can be quantified and used for a variety of things. It's not some almost unquantifiable mystic thing like magic or the Force. Nin acts like a battery. For characters that use it like Gon does to punch things, there's no middle step. The amount of Nin put into an attack is directly linked to the power that they will end up striking with. So, by measuring the volume of Nin that he charged this punch with, we find that Gon was imparting about 363,000 cubic centimeters of Nin into this punch. Now, this is where it gets crazy. You see, volume is not like diameter. An object that has a diameter of 2 meters, or roughly about 2 yards, will have a volume that is 8 times greater than a sphere that is half the size. Increasing an object's diameter exponentially increases volume. So, taking this image of Gon charging his greatest punch, and we find that it has a volume of 1.94 billion cubic centimeters of nin. This is about 5,344 times greater than what Gon used to punch the Chimera. Multiplying Child Gon's 123 kilotons by this, and we find that Adult Gon's greatest hit must have been charged with about 661 megatons of TNT. This power is actually supported by the fact that Neferpitu, the Chimera who he killed with this, said that he might be able to challenge the Chimera Ant King, Meruem. Meruem's max durability in the form that Pitu was referring to is equivalent to the yield of the miniature rose, because while it didn't kill him, it did come very close. In order to find the yield of this bomb, we can look at this image here. Now, there are several steps we can take to find the width of some object if we know the distance to that object. But to find the distance to the fireball, or to the horizon in this case, as you can see fireball is on the horizon, we first need to find the size of the planet. Finding this is surprisingly easy to do because much later we get this panel. Taking this, outlining the curve, and then using North America as a ruler, we find that this planet has a diameter of about 192,976 kilometers. Taking this and the viewing height which we can find by using these mountains, we discovered that the distance to the horizon, or in this case the bomb, is 230.5 kilometers. Now, this is a low estimate on the planet's diameter due to how we found it, but at this point, it's pretty much the best we got. Now that we know the distance to the bomb, it's a simple thing to find that this fireball is about 13.736 kilometers in radius, and would have a yield of 1,700 megatons of TNT. This means that if Adult Gon got into a fight with Meruem, he might still lose, but he would certainly put up a good fight, likely even better than Netro did. It should also be mentioned that Nin ability is an ability that works extremely well against opponents that can't use it. Using Nin against someone who doesn't have it is likened to a person being naked in a snowstorm. Any opponent that Gon fights that does not have an ability like Nin is at a severe disadvantage despite any physical advantages they have, because they have no way of fighting against one of Gon's most used abilities. It allows the user to bypass any traditional defense to attack the individual directly. In fact, that's really where Hunter x Hunter character strength lies, in the intricate details of their ability. If you want a video talking about the combat properties of the different types of Nin, then feel free to leave a comment down below. It's something that crossed my mind, but I don't even know if you guys want it. Okay, before we really get into talking about Gon's speed, just so you know, there's really no evidence to suggest that Gon has ever used Nin to make himself faster, so we won't be doing any sort of multiplication like we did for the punch, which is unlucky for us. It would make this much simpler. Speaking of simple, you know what's also simple? Subscribing to the channel. I mean, unlike Gon and his contract, subscribing is not going to end up killing you. Unless you are allergic to knowledge. In that case, make sure that you have an EpiPen handy when you watch my videos, and subscribe anyway. Also, make sure to like this video, but only if you actually like this video. If you're one of those people who are just indifferent to the video, stick to the end. You might not be indifferent to what I have to say then. Now, if you hate this video, then like it anyway. It costs you nothing to leave some positivity behind. And now back to Gon. Gon has many faster than eyesight feats, but they all tend to sit somewhere around the 10,000 mile per hour range. Basically, if you've seen, or I guess not seen Gon move faster than the eye can see, then it's very likely that he moved somewhere around 10,000 miles per hour or Mach 13. The two feats that I think are the most obvious of these faster than sight speeds are Gon versus the Kiriko, where he moved at about 5,763 miles per hour, or Mach 7.5, and Gon versus the Greed Island Thief, where he moved at about 10,578.7 miles per hour, or Mach 13.78. So, in case you're wondering, there you go. There are multiple ways to find Gon's max speed, but the first way we're going to find it is by comparing Adult Gon to Meruem. But to do that, we first need Netro's reaction time and Killua's movement speed. First, we'll cover Killua. Remember in probably one of the greatest moments in all of Hunter x Hunter when Killua moved too fast with his killer guy to see and then rips out his heart? Well, by finding the distance between them and using the proper time, we find that Killua must have been able to move at about 7,764 miles per hour or Mach 10. Now, looking at when Gon and Killua played Netro in this ball game, we get this image. Assuming that Killua was moving at top speed, then we find that Netro had to have reacted and covered about 26.43 meters in about 0.46 milliseconds. Now, much later, Netro says that he's about half as strong as he was in his prime. However, after some training, we are led to assume that he regained this strength in order to fight Meruem. Scaling this up, and Netro's reaction time should be about 232 microseconds. Okay, so, armed with Netro's reaction time, we will now look at this image where Meruem cuts off his arm. From where Meruem moved from to where he ended up is a total of 31 meters. For Meruem to cover this distance before Netro could react and block him, he would need to have moved at about 304,000 miles per hour, or Mach 396.21. This is about 138% the speed of the leader of a lightning bolt, and due to what Pitou said, we can safely assume that Gon can hit this speed as well. But this is just a minimum. Gon is likely far faster than this, as he should be around the same speed as Killua's Godspeed ability. Killua's Godspeed is described as making him as fast as a bolt of lightning. Of course, to be fair, the definition of the term lightning bolt is not well defined as if we're discussing the leader or the return stroke, but we do know that Killua talks about it like he has multiple speeds. So from that, it's not hard to make a good case to say that Killua can move as fast as the leader or as fast as the return stroke. Now, Adult Gon was able to completely stomp Pitou in literally every way. But when she died, her nin possessed her body for one final attack. Killua saw this and tried to move to save Gon. In this panel, we find that Killua is about 12.2 meters away from Gon, while Pitou is moving at a distance similar to her own height, as she was just lying on the ground. Assuming that Killua was moving at top speed, we can find that for Pitou to hit Gon before Killua reached him, she would need to be moving at over 32 million miles per hour. As we stated before, Gon could easily move faster than she could, like by a massive amount. This acts as evidence that Gon could at least match Killua's lightning fast speeds of 220 million miles per hour, or about a third the speed of light. Now, this speed also works backwards, as we can also scale Meruem and Netro to Gon as well. Okay, so with Gon's adult speed out of the way, let's go on and, just for fun, calculate his max speed as a child. This speed calculation heavily relies on feat stacking, but don't worry, it should come out pretty much fine. By taking Gon's speed when he went up against the Kiriko and comparing it to when he moved too fast for the card thief to see when on Greedo Island, we find there's a 0.544 times difference. If we apply that difference to the normal time that a human can recognize movement in, 0.0045 of a second, and we find that Greedo Island Gon should have a reaction time of around 2.45 milliseconds. Now, this is not the ideal way to find reaction time, but it still should get us in the same ballpark. We know that Tezgera should be on par with this, if not faster, as this was before Killua's and Gon's training with Bisky. So assuming that this is Tezgera's best reaction time, we can now take it and look towards the dodgeball game. When Razor and his pirates start passing the ball, Tezgera explicitly says that he cannot track its movement. The distance of one round between all four of the pirates plus the distance the ball moved to hit Tezgera is a total of 58.87 meters. So for the ball to cover that distance in that time, 2.45 milliseconds, it must have been moving at over 53,000 miles per hour. By measuring the nin around the ball at this point, and then comparing it to the nin during the last volley, we find that it's about 3.11 times more. Applying this to speed, and this ball must have been moving at a whopping 167,095 miles per hour, or Mach 217. Now, as this ball comes towards Gon, he began to lose consciousness and fall to the ground. The thing is, considering where the ball is when he starts going down and where it is when he lands, he must have thrown himself to the ground at an idiotically fast speed as to not get hit. Taking the distance and using the speed, this ball would have hit him in just over 22.2 microseconds. Though, it's not as simple as all of that. You see, as the ball bears down on Gon, the supporting cast have an entire conversation. Counting the words, the internal monologue, and the panels that have no speech in them, we find that time passed was the equivalent of 24 words. Using a 160 words per minute pace, we find that under normal conditions, this would give us a time of 9 seconds. But this is not normal. All this had to be said before the ball reached Gon, or within exactly 22.2935 microseconds. So, dividing those 9 seconds by the real time the ball would have moved this distance in, and we know because he was standing upright when the conversation finished, Gon must have been able to react in under 2.477 microseconds. in order for him to reach the ground in that time, he would have had to have thrown himself down at Mach 1,812. This is over 6 times faster than the leader of a lightning bolt, but it's only 0.6% of the speed that his adult form has. There's not really a whole lot to discuss when talking about Gon's durability. You see, when they need to defend themselves, Nin users will cover their entire body in a Nin aura, and both offensive and defensive Nin are powered from the same source, so they should be relatively equal. Basically, however much power Gon can generate while using his Nin to punch something is equivalent to how strong his aura shield can be. Now, while it is true that Gon almost died after he killed Batu, that was probably the toll that the power that he got took on his body, and not from releasing all that power at once. So this means that Adult Gon should have a durability greater than the 661 megatons of TNT that we found he charged this punch with. Actually, he's probably closer to being on par with Meruem's 1.7 gigatons of TNT. Now, I feel like I should mention that while Killua was not the person that Gon punched, he was near the middle of the resulting explosion and must have taken at least a good bit of that attack. However, even then, Killua came out completely unscathed, and his aura should be far less durable than Gon's because Killua is a transmuter, not an enhancer. So with all that said, I wanted to let you guys know something. As a milestone celebration when we get to 1,000 subscribers, I'll be making a video calculating Ichigo's power, and at 10,000 subs, I will calculate Naruto's power. Beyond that, got no idea, but let's just get to those 2 milestones first. So, if you want a video on either Naruto or Ichigo, then you might want to share this with people who you think will like it. That said, guys, thanks for watching, see you next time, remember to stay spectacular, JoJo, out.
I'm gonna go see my dad. I know I'll find him someday. So I won't give up.